the insight times, we will be talking about thoughts, the physical nature of thoughts. We want to make sure that you all understand that thoughts are not just an imagination without physical impact on the brain. Your thoughts are pretty much important to the point that they will shape your habit, your mood, your behavior, your attitude, and even your success. You got to make conscious effort in deliberately rejecting some thoughts that are negative and intentionally accepting positive thoughts because your life depends on your thoughts. And as I said, they are not just mere imagination, they have physical impact on the brain. So, this is how the brain works. Whenever you are thinking, the physical structure of your brain is adjusted, is changed, is rewired to cope with that type of thinking that is going on. So, what are thoughts? These are electrical signals that are in the brain every day. They run, they are very rapid. Most of them are like 200 miles per hour. That's how fast they are. And they just move around in the brain all the time. They are encoded by neurons and they have physical pathways. So, what happens is every time you are having a thought, your brain is being rewired. So, the structure of your brain physically changes based on how you think. Now, that is the concept of neuroplasticity, which is good and bad. So, if you are having good thoughts, your brain is going to be rewired physically in different way as compared to you having negative thoughts. What happens is people think a lot every day. For instance, we have between 12,000 to 60,000 thoughts on a daily basis. And about 95% of these thoughts are the same thoughts we had yesterday. So thoughts are repetitive. They are something we've had before the previous day or a few hours back, and we are still processing them. Sadly, 80% of our thoughts are potentially negative. So we need to do more to think positively. Initially, I said, your thoughts will shape your behavior, your attitude, your mood, and even your success. So if you start thinking about things that are not healthy or that are negative, or you are hurt, or you want to take revenge on someone, and you are so used to that, well, sometimes you might feel there's a reason of thinking that way. Of course, we all have reasons of thinking, but you should be able to deliberately get rid of some thoughts and incorporate some thoughts. Your brain is being structured as you are thinking. So it's creating an habitual loop that will make it very efficient for the brain to think that way the next day. So you see now how physical the brain is being structured based on how you are thinking. So if your thoughts are negative, then you will create negative habitual loops that will stay out there for quite a long period of time. The reason why the brain does that is the brain uses a lot of energy, it burns a lot of fat and oxygen to process these thoughts. And what it does is if you are thinking negatively, it's going to rewire itself through the concept of neuroplasticity to create habitual loops. What you thought of yesterday can be automated today. So these loops are created, and you keep processing this thought quite rapidly as compared to new thoughts. So what you had in mind last week could be the same thing you thought of yesterday, 95% of the time. And then today, that could be the same thing you are thinking about because the brain has already developed physical structure, those habitual loops that make it very, very efficient for your thoughts to flow through. So, in order to minimize or get rid of negative thoughts, you cannot get rid of negative thought, but you can significantly reduce that. You should be able to make conscious efforts. It has to be concerted. You can't just say, well, I think I'm going to try because your brain is not rewired to think that way physically. So you have to create an effort, very conscious effort, to incorporate positive thinking into your daily thoughts. Become selective in thinking. If, for instance, your thoughts are interrupted by the same thing you had yesterday, well, you will say, I'm aware of this, I'm conscious of this, I'm going to get rid of it and maybe think about something positive. It's going to be hard sometimes. You might do it for 1 or 2 seconds and immediately, your brain is going to get back to its memory and you start thinking negatively again. But you got to be conscious of it. You got to exercise that. You got to take note of it and make sure that your brain is rewired, creating positive habitual loops instead of those negative habitual loops. So when your brain negative habitual loops are now replaced by positive habitual loops, then the efficiency of the brain processing positive things will be increasingly apparent. So that's how important our thoughts are. That's how important our thoughts are when it comes to our success in life, our relationship with our family and friends, with people out there, and what we do and what we stand for. You got to replace that thought with positive thought. And of course, your brain will be rewired physically to create that habitual loop that will make it possible for positive thoughts to easily flow. It is obvious that people will say your thinking cannot be reprogrammed after age 35. Well, yes, you can change after age 35. However, you got to put in more effort because your thought pattern has lasted for more than 2 decades. So, changing that, it will require more effort as compared to a child at age 13 who will want to change their thinking pattern and their behavior. So, it is harder as compared to younger people. You can start now, you can start at any age. The good news is that the brain is going to reprogram itself, restructure itself physically to accommodate the type of thoughts you are having. So when you start thinking positively and sporadically negative ones come in, you can get rid of them by choice and keep thinking positively. And it's going to take a while, and the brain itself is going to be restructuring itself as you are thinking to have those habitual positive loops. And that will change your behavior, make you successful, make you a positive person, a changed person, and a person who is less depressed, less bitter, and generally socially acceptable. The Insight Times. Have a wonderful evening.